All right, welcome to Coding with Jess. Let me go drop just a link for the folks who might want to join us here in a second. And we will get this party started pretty quick here. Let's see. To the Twitters. And where do I find a copy? Oh, there it is. All right. All right, that is dropped, and now we can go and get started. Okay, so where did we leave off last time? It has been about a few months since, maybe like 2 months or so since we worked on Spotify new releases, maybe 6 weeks or so. So I'm actually going to start off by kind of reloading context of where we're at with this project and what we should be working on right now. So thankfully, I keep a Trello board. By the way, this is accessible in the show notes. If you're watching the YouTube video, there should be a link at the bottom that shows you a link to this Trello board. So this is public. You can go check it out, kind of like look and see what we're working on. But yeah, I try to keep a list of the things that I'm working on in Trello, even when I'm working on side projects. That way I can quickly like jump back in and get my head where we were. Oh, and also, before we get started, as most of you know, we're going to spend the next 2 hours working in Pomodoros. So I'm going to go ahead and start a Pomodoro, and we will get started kind of catching up, see where we are, and see what we want to work on next. For those of you who are looking at this Tomato app and going, what the heck is that? It's a cool app called Tomato 2 by my friend Vojto Rinnick. He wrote Tomato 1, which I've been using for probably 5 years now. And for those of you who are not new to this live stream, you've probably seen Tomato 1 in some of the previous live streams. So he rewrote it in Swift and redesigned the app. It's pretty nice. Tomato 2, it's on the Mac App Store. Check it out. Pretty fun app to work with. All right, so where were we? In the middle of Spotify new releases. So it looks like we've got two things in progress right now. One is a spike on investigating how to reduce page load time. So you may remember, for those of you who are new to this, Spotify new releases is simply a newsfeed style page of all the new releases that have been released, new album releases that have been released by by artists that you follow on Spotify. So that's where that's the app that we're building. Now, there's some challenges with that because there is no specific API, singular API that we can call on Spotify to be able to get that list of things, artists and albums back. And so we end up having to do a bunch of API calls. It turns out to be not a fast operation. And so this is kind of a long-running dialogue with myself and you, starting in August, on how we can make this app fast and responsive. So we've done some estimates and stuff like that. This is not what I want to work on today. We are very close to getting this app up and running in production. So that's the app that's the card that's in progress right now. We were in the middle of moving to .env, so there should be a PR for what I'm working on right now. There certainly is a branch for what I'm working on, and we may want to go ahead and open a PR for that. So knowing that that's the card we're working on, generally set up production in Heroku. Looks like I didn't leave myself a lot of notes on this, which is kind of not helpful. I wish I had come in and kind of left myself some notes. So let's see if there's any pull requests that I've left out there with notes. Sometimes I'll open a work in progress pull request and actually give myself kind of a notes for the future when I pick up that project again. All right, so jumping over to pull requests. What do we have here? Let's see, we've got set up production in Heroku. Yay! I actually opened up a PR. Yep, I commented on it. Need to extract the scopes from this crazy long string. You can go look at the files changed. All right, looks like what I was doing primarily is moving to .env. And so that's a way of extracting out all of the, the environment files. The environment variables from the local host and storing them in a secrets file, and then being able to configure those environment files in staging and production. So if you'll notice the finish line here that we have specified in Trello, we want to set up Heroku. We want to set up Rails server and Postgres server. So we're going to set up a Rails instance and a Postgres instance. And then we want to be able to set up both a production and a, do we mention staging? I guess I don't have staging mentioned here. I'm guessing that it's probably one of the cards over here. Yeah, there you go. Set up staging. So we're going to try and get production up and running. It should be pretty quick to get staging up and running if we can get production up and running today. So maybe we can do both today. We're midway through this .env mess. So yeah, today's going to be a lot of DevOps. So if you're down with the DevOps and getting applications deployed on Heroku, that's probably what we're going to be spending a lot of time focusing on today. Let's see. All right. So let's go ahead and dig in to that funness. Where were we on this PR? Okay, so I've got a couple things open here. Got Visual Studio open on the left. Got my terminals open on the right. When I'm working in terminals, I tend to have the first one has my Rails server or my server, whatever like process is running all of my hosting the server. I've got my Rails console open on the second, and then I've just got sort of an open terminal on the for the third one. So let's see. What branch are we on right now? Okay, move to .env. So I'm already on that branch. I'm running Rails server. Let's see if the application actually runs. It does appear to run. Let's see if I can actually connect to my... All right, I think we're back. Sorry guys, this is OBS. So I'm on a new version of, I'll drop this in the chat too. I'm on a new version of macOS since last time, Catalina 10.15. OBS seems to not like Catalina too much. All right, hopefully we don't end up with just a ton of crashes here, but that's where we're at right now. So it seemed like... Wow. Okay, guys. I'm not sure what to think about this. OBS keeps crashing on me. Okay, I think we're maybe there. Let's check it out. Okay. I'm not sure why I'm getting feedback. Let's see, video resolution. So y'all, I have literally downloaded a brand new live streaming app that I've never used before and set it up in the last 5 minutes so we could keep going today. I don't want to slow things down here, so yeah, how do I... So I literally have no idea. So that should do that. And then I just want to make sure that I'm not hearing myself. Check, check, check. You guys got me? Do we have audios? Huh. Unmuted, unmuted. Check. This should be live output now. I think you guys should have this. Check, check. Woohoo! Okay. So I'm just gonna not touch anything and hope that this continues to work and not crash. Thanks, Wirecast, for a 30-day free trial of your application. Man, all right. Guys, I'm so sorry about that hassle. And thank y'all for hanging in. I'm going to go quick and just drop one more tweet to say we're back. Okay, we're back. All right, we're going to keep jamming. Okay, see if I can recover from that and figure out where we were at. Okay, right, so we're working on getting this up into production in Heroku, so there's going to definitely be some DevOps stuff today, as well as some like Ruby configuration and that kind of thing. The first thing I was trying to do was to make sure that I could actually log into the application locally, and that things are still working locally. So I was grabbing my Spotify credentials. Let's go ahead and get logged in here, and then this should hopefully show us a whole bunch of albums in just a second. Oh, right. I have like changed my Spotify credentials over time. So actually, technically, I think Spotify changed the way that they did auth. All right. Nor not. Oh, okay. Why? Huh. Let's see if we can log in Facebook. I guess I've been logged in for so long. Oh, good. Okay, cool. This is actually the right response we'd want to see. Missing client ID. So what we've been doing with .env is we've been pulling out all of the environment files, and that means that probably my secrets YAML file doesn't have the actual secrets we want in it. So let's go see if that is the case. So let's see, open VS Code, and our config secrets file probably doesn't have what we want. Yep, we don't even have a secrets file. We have a secrets example YAML. Right, so this Spotify client ID and client secret need to get populated with the real thing. So I'm gonna have to stop streaming for a second so I can get these actual credentials and not expose them. So here we go. First test of how quickly I can learn a new piece of software from complete scratch. Can I actually pause screen sharing with Wirecast really fast? I think so. I think it's this button maybe. No, that's that. Preview area, live area. Oh, I know what I can do. I think I can... Do. Man, I hate this part of... Let's see. How would I pause? Background solid color. Do. There we go. All right, I'm gonna load up my credentials really fast in my secrets YAML file. So that's what I'm doing, and I'll share my screen again in just a second. So I'll kind of talk you through what I'm doing, even though you can't see it. I'm creating a secrets YAML file. Oh, and by the way, our tomato timer just ended. We're not gonna take a break just yet. I'll take one. I'm gonna restart the file, the Pomodoro. All right, secrets.yaml, creating that. I'm copying over the credentials from secrets example YAML, and now I need to go to my Spotify developer console and grab the actual credentials from there. Some of you who have been watching me for a while may remember that the first time I did this and recorded this, I did not blank out the screen, ended up exposing those credentials and had to recreate them. And so we're not going to do that this time. Developer.spotify.com. Go to my dashboard. Log in there. Your new releases. Cool. I did create one for production. That's good. But yeah, let me go ahead and copy those up. Almost done here, and I'll bring the screen back in just a second. All right, there's the client ID and the secret. All right, those are now in my secrets example YAML. I can now close this. Actually, that's fine if I just go back to dashboard here. It's fine if you see the ID, and not fine if you don't. All right. All right, delete that. And now it should be back. Maybe. Hopefully. Oh man, so fun. Yeah, the blue is purposeful, Louis. Sorry, I was hiding my secrets from you guys, so I didn't expose them and end up having to reset them. So now we're in good shape. I now have a secrets YAML file that has the appropriate secrets in it. So we should be able to go back here to localhost 3000, refresh. I'm trying to remember if I need to restart the server. Rather than trying to remember, I'm just going to do it. On better safe than sorry here. All right, so here we go. Refreshing localhost 3000. I should now be able to connect my Spotify account. Oh, and it doesn't like my client. My client ID is still blank. So it could be that we're like halfway through the changes we need to make. Let's go see. All right, so here are the changes we've got so far in our pull request. We have added a .env file locally, which I can't remember exactly what that file has in it. .env. I don't see a .env file. Oh, we added it to get ignore. Of course. So was I supposed to add those? That's strange. No, my secrets YAML file is ignored. So if we open this all the way up, yeah, config/secrets YAML is ignored, which is appropriate. Can't remember exactly what's supposed to be in the .env file, so we'll have to go figure that out. But we've added the .env plugin, .env Rails, web is running. Oh, we have a proc file now. Cool. So I'll probably proc files are run by something called Foreman in Ruby, and I think Foreman is actually supposed to be installed globally, which means this is a new machine. I haven't installed it globally yet. So let's see, gem install Foreman. I may need to throw a -G on there. That looked like that ran okay. So let's go stop the Rails server and try to run it using Foreman start. All right, go over to localhost 5000. Everything should be still working. Yep, it is. And if we click connect, I have a feeling this will fail because we still don't have client ID specified. You can kind of see that client ID is not specified right here. This response that's going over to accounts.spotify.id would have client ID equals, and it should have a really freaking long string with some random stuff in it, followed by that ampersand. That ampersand is the way in URI encoding you separate multiple parameters. So we know that that's not getting embedded in the string. Let's keep reading through the PR and see if we can figure out why it's not getting embedded. All right, so render the button to connect to Spotify. Client ID, Rails configuration, Spotify client ID. So we're using something called rails.configuration, which is loading the configuration files from somewhere. Looks like Spotify service is also using that. Yeah, and I left myself a note about this crazy long string that we should definitely extract. We've got a config domain of localhost 5000. That's correct. Now we're running on 5000. Some of you sharp-eyed folks might have noticed that we switched from 3000 to 5000, going from Rails server to Foreman. That's just the default port that Foreman operates on. All right, here we go. All right, let's give ourselves 5 more minutes and then we'll do a break. Here we go. One of the new features I like about Tomato 2 is when it tells you a break is coming up, you can tell it to give me 5 more minutes. Kind of like a sleep timer or a snooze timer for your Pomodoro. which is kind of handy because I try to be pretty disciplined around the Pomodoro, but sometimes it's nice to, you're right in the middle of a groove and you really don't want to step away. You can just click and ask for 5 more minutes. And so we have 5 more. All right, here's the magic. So this is happening in an initializer called Spotify.rb. Oops. I don't know how that opened up. Spotify RB. All right, in this initializer, it's loading these env variables. So I think the .env file is where we can store those, the client ID. So I guess I don't need them in secrets YAML, which means that I put them in the wrong place right now, which means that I need to blue screen you out again. So give me just a second. I'm going to do that and get those in the env file, and I will be right back. Now that I know how to add solid colors. Watch this, y'all. So good at this new application thing. Boop. There we go. All right, you are blue screened out for just a second while I go move those files over to .env. Give me just a second. So I'm copying some secrets. It will be config/secret YAML to the .env file locally. All right, now I'm just reformatting this YAML file into different environment variables, and because they have a slightly different format than YAML. If you've noticed before, they're like all capital. Spotify client ID, all capitals, and Spotify client secret followed by an equal sign. So that's just the way environment variables work. All right, those are saved. All right, let me go ahead and turn the blue off. Boop, 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 boop. All right, y'all should be back now. And we should now definitely have to restart when you're changing environment variables using the .env plugin. That does not dynamically load changes, or I would be 90% sure that it does not dynamically load changes. All right, so now we reload localhost 5000. You'll actually be able to see just in this link here whether the client ID is present. And there it is. Cool. Client ID is present. Invalid redirect URI. Okay, so the client that we're using has a redirect URI. That's this guy right here, Uni Releases, that is not accurate. So let's go through, click Edit Settings. Again, it's totally fine for y'all to see the client ID. It's the client secret that's the problem. And there you go. We have localhost 3000 callback. This should be localhost 5000 callback. So let's go ahead and say localhost 5000 callback and add that in. Click Save. So we just moved from port 3000 to 5000, like I said a few minutes ago. And so we needed to make that update in our Spotify application. All right, connect again. All righty, we made it a little bit further. So undefined method, remember token for false class. What is that? And why did that happen? Let's keep reading through this PR. Looks like we were pretty much at the bottom anyway. Got to change to Webpacker where we said compile false. So there's also another PR out there from a great dude named Jonathan, who was actually helping or John, I should say. John has been watching the stream and he noticed some fixes we could make, and I have a feeling that Webpacker compile might be related to this, but we'll come back to that in a second once we get this up and running for the most part. Okay, so this is now back on our side of the house. So the errors you were seeing just a second ago were actually within Spotify's API. So we were not sending the appropriate parameters, we weren't sending the appropriate redirect URI. Now we are, and everything's configured correctly on the Spotify thing. I would wager a guess that we are now successfully logged in locally. However, we have some other defect that we need to figure out what the problem is. So this looks like cookies remember token. Spotify service authenticate. Let's go see what that's about. Spotify service. All right, we'll give ourselves 5 more minutes since we had such a debacle of a first 20 minutes of this streaming session, and then we will take a Pomodoro break and get back into the rhythm of taking 5-minute breaks every few minutes. So we'll be back in just a second. Let's see if we can push through this cookie error first, and then we'll get back to on our habit of breaking here. Let's see. So where was that? The strange thing is I'm not seeing a file here. Rails root. Oh, auth controller. Okay, cool. I opened the wrong file. Auth controller. Cookies permanent. Let's go look and see where this change was introduced. Look up user by remember token. And what is it saying is broken? User is coming back as false. Ah, so the Spotify authentication failed and returned returned false. Let's go see what our Spotify service has got. In what cases it returns false. So if it gets an auth response that is not successful, then it returns false. Interesting. Okay, so we did not get successfully logged in. Let's go ahead and click connect again. Interesting. Let's see. Huh. So your new releases. Maybe we don't have the appropriate. We've got a callback here. We have the. I'm pretty sure we have the. Well, we can at least compare the client ID without exposing anything. So client ID E3F. Let's see. Remember how I was saying you can actually get the client ID from this link here. Yeah, so E3F4. That looks like the right one. We also have that. The one thing that could be the problem is that that entire scope string. Let's see if we actually get something in our develop log that gives us some hint of what's going on here. So connect. All right, the parameters they hit callback with. This is a code that allows me to access. So that looks actually successful to me. Completed 500 internal server error. Okay, I think there might be something else wrong here with our code that's actually creating the user. So let's see. The response that we're getting back only has a code associated with it. Is this the method we're actually calling? Let's see. Auth controller calls authenticate with a code. Oh yeah, here we are, right here. Code equals params code. So that would be pulling out this code out of the parameters and passing it into user authenticate. So maybe we want to pepper in some debug statements into our Spotify service and figure out why this is failing. So we'll just do a puts. Let's just put the code. Actually, we'll do this. Debugging's best friend, right? Authenticate called with code. All right, see if that works, or see if that gives us a little more detail. So hitting refresh here, clearing my Rails console or my Rails log. Not. Huh. Well, that clearly has to be getting called auth controller. So we're definitely getting to here, which is where things are blowing up, which means we're calling Spotify service authenticate. Spotify service authenticate. It could be that this put statement is wrong. We may want to do an actual log statement. Do I have any examples I can steal from in my own code on this project? Logging to I think it's like rails.logger. I always have to look this up. Config log. All right, cool. let's take a 5-minute break. Pomodoro will be right back after this break, and hopefully get past this bug and figure out how we get logged in locally. I'll be right back, I guess. All right, while the break is still going on, switch over to chat, see if anybody had any questions there. Then man, I'm anxious to get started. All right, I know we have 45 seconds left on this tomato timer, but I am anxious to actually get something done today. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit start tomato and start the next timer, and let's keep going on what we were working on. Okay, so we have a bug here, and I have not configured logging on this application. I was just thinking about where that would be configured. Yeah, it would be configured here. Config.logger. Great. So there already is a config logger. Let me remember what the syntax is for like putting in a log statement. Logging. The logger. Here we are. After I've got that set up, then I can, that's it, logger.debug. Okay. What? So instead of puts, we'll do a logger debug here, and hopefully that will throw that into our development log when we see this error. And hopefully we'll get a little bit more detail about what's going on here. Undefined local variable or method logger. Do I have to? Seriously? I was looking in the production file. Let me see. Development.rb log. Oh, ha! Wow, that's weird. So the production file has the logger defined, but the development file does not. Interesting. Let's go see app RB. If that has it defined, nope. That would be a negative. Okay, cool. Well, let's get that done real quick. So I think I can just copy what was in production RB to development RB. Okay, and then we'll need to reboot. Oh, there we go. It was hitting. That's interesting. So puts was putting it out here in the foreman log, but not in the development log. That is very strange. But authenticate was being called successfully, so at least we know we got that far. So we should be able to track this down pretty quick here. We can always go back to using log, or we can always go back to using puts. I'm not sure why that's not working, and I'm not going to bother with it right now. Let's go ahead and undo the changes here. Something to note for later is we should probably fix logging. But that is not what we're doing right now, and that would just be a rabbit trail. So try to stay focused on the thing you're working on and not get sucked down rabbit trails during times like this. All right, here we go. So authenticate was being called with that. All right, let's advance our logging statement a little bit further. Spotify service. Open that back up. So we've got this authenticate method that is not getting us what we want. So let's see what we're actually getting in terms of this auth response here. So we'll do put auth response. So it could be that we're getting denied for some reason from the Spotify API, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's see what's going on here. All right, the auth response says invalid client secret. Well, gosh darn it. Huh. Okay. Man, that means I have to blue screen this again in order to change the client secret, guys. So give me just a second. I've gotten really fast at turning you guys a blue screen. Now I just need to make it say, I'm editing secret files, so Louis doesn't freak out every time it goes blue. Give me just a second. All right, CC987. Go to my environment file. Okay, looks exactly the same. Oh my goodness, you guys won't believe it. All right, we're back now. There you go. You guys should be able to see again. I cut a trailing digit off the client secret when I pasted it into the file. Can you believe that? That's real. Yep, that's what happened. Okay, well, that was appropriately telling us we don't have the right one. We'll have to reboot. Again, remember that was in an environment file. Environment files do not automatically load. So we have to restart the server so it pulls that data from those secrets from the environment file again, refresh this, go through the loop, and we're off. Woohoo! We're a little bit further. All right, so now if I click view my releases, hopefully we see remember this page is going to be the slow one, and then we'll see a list of albums. Boom! Sweet, the Lone Bellow has a new album. That's awesome. I'll have to go listen to that later. Great. Okay, organized by week, and so we're trying to get this here up and running on Heroku in production. So now we have it running locally. Let's see if we can get it up and running in production. Let's go ahead and cut our log files out of here. This is something I often see in people's code, is that they'll accidentally leave those log files or those put statements in, debug statements in. Make sure and remove those. It's just a hassle to have them kind of sitting around and cluttering up your code as well as cluttering up your console. All right, no changes. So let's go back over to our pull request and see what else we need to do here. It looks like we have everything running using environment files. And so let's see if we can get this up and running in Heroku. Heroku.com. I believe I already have a Spotify new releases prod. I do. Cool. Make this a little bit bigger for y'all. And let's see. All right, so I'm just going to say deploy Rails 5 to Heroku. Pretty sure that the last time we were doing this, I was following a guide on the Heroku Dev Center. So we're just going to kind of resume following that guide. And already done that. Added the PG gem, Heroku gem, specified my Ruby version. How do you want me to do it? In the gem file. Done. Store your app in Git. Done. Deploy your application to Heroku. All right, so I don't know if I've actually logged in locally. We're going to find out in a second here. Heroku has a really nice CLI. Yep, so I have not logged in yet. Again, this is a brand new machine. There we go. Cool, now I'm logged in. So I should be able to do a... Oh, I don't want to do a Heroku create. It led me astray here. I actually want to do, let's see, Heroku list. I want to connect to an existing Heroku. Let me see if there's a Heroku CLI connect to app. There we go. Connect to existing app. Because I want to be able to say, hey, I've already got this Heroku app created. I bet you it's in this somewhere. Let's see. More resources here. Now deploy. Oh, it's already connected to Spotify new releases. Cool. Okay. So I can actually do a deploy this branch. We're also going to have to, guess what? Go blue one more time, because I'm going to have to get all of my environment variables configured in Heroku as well. So let me go ahead and do this deployment. This should, we know that this will not work because the environment variables, I don't believe, are configured yet. I can go over and look, I think, without exposing them. Let me see. Activity, access, settings. Here we go. If I click that reveal config vars, it may reveal some stuff that we don't want to reveal. So let's see. Let's see what is running on this Heroku app right this moment. Looks like we, okay, yeah, we'll have to install the Heroku Postgres. Oh, it says it's already installed. Sweet. All right. Let's see, open app. So the dynos are spinning up. Let's see if this actually works. Oh my goodness. Sweet. I did not know that we had actually gotten this working in production. So that, I don't know if y'all noticed that, we are on a production Heroku application. Doesn't have a nice fancy domain yet. We should get that going soon. But we actually have it working in production. So I didn't realize we had gotten that far last time. But in any case, I needed to get it working on my local environment again, which we now have. So Okay, let's go back over to our Trello card, right? We've hit some milestones. Have we hit all the milestones we want to be done with this card? So that's the question. So setup in Heroku, Rails server, Postgres server. It looks like those are already working in Heroku. Set up with production Spotify API keys. I believe that's also working. I don't know if y'all noticed when I was on my Spotify dashboard, there was actually 2 applications here. One of them is called Spotify New Releases Production. So I believe that's the one that we're currently hitting. We'll see. This doesn't update immediately, so that doesn't bother me. The fact that there's no data available yet, we can come back and check later. But yeah, I think we're set up with production Spotify API keys, and we have a separate development Spotify API key that we just set up. So it's alive! So exciting. All right, so let me get the domain and drop it in there. Again, we're going to get a much better domain than a Heroku app subdomain, but at least we have for now. This is freaking working. And we can probably go ahead and get this merged into master. So set up production. Whew. Whew. All right. What a morning. What a pleasant surprise finding out that it's pretty much already done in Heroku. All right, so one thing I want to do before I go ahead and merge this in, I did have that one comment we need to resolve, which is extracting this string into an environment variable. So we'll do that in just a second here. But one thing I wanted to resolve was we have John Furr's pull request that is not going back to master, but is actually going back to this branch. So you'll notice that the pull request that he opened actually goes back to the move to .env branch. So what I'd like to do with this is actually test his branch locally and see if things continue to work. I think he has all of our, yeah. I think this will work. Yeah, so let's go check his branch out and make sure that things continue to work. And if they do, we'll go ahead and already tested and deployed to Heroku and worked fine. All right, well, we'll give this a try. John Furr, thank you for making the change. So what we'll need to do now is we are on GBA is my get branch dash all. We're on the move to .env branch, so we're going to change over to John Furr's move to .env branch. Check out John Furr, move to .env, and then restart our server, make sure it runs locally. Thinking, and it does. So that was, I don't know if you guys saw that it was loading. This page takes a long time to load. I wouldn't expect any different content. The one thing we could do, I think, does this have a sign out yet? I don't think we've created sign out yet. Auth controller, routes. Nope, we don't have the ability to sign out and destroy your thing yet. We should add that, but it's not in there yet. So I can't I can't simulate the beginning. Oh yeah, I can. Here we go. Connect your Spotify account, view my releases. Cool. Looks like everything's working locally. All right, so I'm gonna take a risk here. I don't know that the John Furr's branch actually works in production yet, without doing a remote deploy to Heroku. So I could, so I think I can just do the push from here. So let's do this. Git push Heroku John Furr dash move. All right. So this should allow us to test it out on Heroku. Oh, but this is connected to the wrong Heroku branch, the wrong Heroku. Let me see. I think I can fix that pretty quickly. See, the real problem is if I wanted to do a branch deploy, I could do it from the UI, but I can't see the John Furr move to .env branch because it's actually on a fork. So I've got the fork branch locally on my machine, but Heroku doesn't know about it because it's looking at the branch list for my version of Spotify New Releases. I don't know if that makes any sense, but this should be easy to deploy, and yet locally my Vim can git config file is pointing at the wrong Heroku remote. So we need to change this, which I think we should be able to find in here, and then we should be able to do a remote push from our local, from my local box of this branch, and then see if it works that way. That might be it right there, actually. Let's try that. Spotify new releases prod. I don't know if you guys have ever hand edited the git config file, but it really is not that bad. This is how branches are added. So like when you do like a git branch create or a git branch tracking remote branches, this is the lines that are added to the git config file. They're actually quite readable. All right, so now we're going to try one more time with git push Heroku. Push to non-master branch, skipping build. Oh, interesting. Do I have to like do this? Okay. Oops. There we go. That was totally me guessing at different syntaxes. So what I just did there was git push Heroku, push the John for move to .env to the master branch. So what this was telling me when I was pushing it up before is that on production, or sorry, on the Heroku remote, it was just creating a branch called John for move to .env. And Heroku can only host or like launch the application from a single branch, and it uses master by default always. Like I don't think you can change that. So if you ever push like a remote branch up to Heroku that's not master, it ignores it, and it told me that right away. Hey, you pushed to non-master branch. I'm skipping build. I'm not doing anything. Like they'll let me store that branch on the git remote, which is kind of weird, but doesn't really do anything. So what I did was I was trying to remember how to push a branch locally to a different branch named on the remote, and apparently that's the syntax. You after the colon you say the name of the branch you want on the remote. So it is now building against this, and it looks like says the deploy is done. It looked like a successful build, so let's go to our Spotify production, go back to the first page, click connect, we're authed, click view my releases. Yeah, looks like it still works. So Johnfer did some stuff to fix Webpack. It's been months since I've looked at that stuff, but it works in production. He said he had also tested it out in production. And remember, you can always revert a PR if there turns out to be problems down the road. So I'm just going to go ahead and accept this. Tested in production. Give guys some emojis. It's definitely deserves it. All right, merge that into production. Or sorry, that's not going to merge into production. That's going to merge it into our move to .env branch. And so what we're going to want to now do is go to our move to .env, go to this one, and now we can finally fix this scope extraction problem. And oh, this is interesting. Temporarily deployed to Spotify new releases. Oh, and it shows that it's currently inactive. That is super cool. Man, I love all of the like GitHub and Heroku like integration and all the different like external things that you can actually see in your GitHub timeline for a PR. So freaking cool. Okay, so we are now at a spot where we need to extract that into an environment variable. As much as I want to do that right now, I'm going to reference this in a new issue. Oops. I'm going to create an issue from this, and here's why. Extract scopes into .env file. There we go. I don't want to have to blue the screen out again and add an environment variable and do all that kind of stuff. I'd rather keep moving. And honestly, like this is kind of a code cleanliness issue. This is not going to affect functionality. I'll probably see it again and be pained by it and want to fix it. But in case I don't remember to do that, I went ahead and created a GitHub issue that referenced that. I don't know if you guys saw how I did that, but for any comment in a PR, you can come right click in that little the little tilde thing right here, and you can say reference in new issue. So I'll make sure that this gets done later. Let's do this later, preferably not while live streaming, so as not to expose secret credentials. All right, cool. So in that case, we are ready to do a merge here. Confirming the merge, deleting the branch. Whew. All right, so we are back at a state where master has the most recent stuff. Let's go ahead and check out master here locally. Prune remote branches if there are any. And okay, cool. So we now have things looking good here. Let me go ahead and restart the application running off of localhost. And what do we want to do next? I think we are running in production. We probably want to go ahead and set up auto deploys from master. So let's go ahead and do that one more step here. That would be under deploy. So what you can do is say anytime somebody merges to master, then automatically deploy. I'm also going to click wait for CI to pass. We don't have CI running yet, but I would like to get that running at some point. So once we do, that'll automatically prevent the merge to master, or sorry, the deployment if the master branch is failing CI for any reason. So go ahead and enable automated deploys. I'm going to go ahead and do a manual deploy of master to make sure that the latest code is there, since we enabled auto deploy after we did that merge. Okay, close all this stuff out, and hopefully I'm going to make sure that this deploy actually succeeds on master. We can close this out, and then we can talk about what do we want to do next. All right, so the goal right now is really to get this thing, I'm going to leave this in review until we actually see this deploy succeed. How much time do we have left on our timer here? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Man, I'm so excited we got through all those changes and we actually have things deployed in production. This is very close to being a usable application. In fact, it is a usable application. It's not particularly gorgeous yet. And one thing I'd like to be able to do, one of the most important features is you should probably be able to link from the album over to Spotify to actually play the album. And so if y'all wanted to check out Spotify new releases, I don't know if any of you are Spotify users, you can go ahead and hit this domain now. So I'm actually going to drop it into chat. Boom. Heroku run -- app name. Gotcha. Yep. Yes, if you want to SSH into the Heroku VM. Cool. You guys should be able to hit that link and actually check your check your Spotify new releases. It should be launching right now. It says deployed. All right, done. Sweet. So let me make sure it still works. Always confirm that things like this work after you do a deploy. You never know what might go wrong. Beautiful. All right, it's actually working. That is super awesome. So now I feel pretty good about moving this to done and taking my face off of it. Okay, so we have a Pomodoro break coming up here in a second, which is perfect timing. We should be thinking about what we want to make work next. I think honestly, it's a pretty minor thing to implement, but I really want it to work. Is being able to link over to Spotify to play an application, or say play an album just by clicking on the album. So I think when we come back, we're going to see if we can add that feature in really quick. That'll make this very nearly a at that point it will be a completely usable application. So we'll be back in 5 minutes to add that feature where you'll be able to click over and actually play some music, which is so exciting because that's the vision of this product, is being able to find the most recent albums and play them on Spotify. So I'll be back in less than 5. Okay, minute and a half. I'm so antsy today with the since we lost time at the beginning. I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. So start tomato, and we will get going here. So what I'm really excited about is I think we can add this next feature in from start to finish and get it up and running in production really quickly. So I'm excited about that. Let's see. As a user, when I click on an album, I want to be directed to the album in Spotify. So I think that's what we want to do. Users want to find new music and then listen to it. Every album link should link to the respective album in Spotify. Okay, let's see how we might do that. No idea how this works, but we'll find out shortly. Make sure there aren't any. Woohoo! Okay. All right, let's get this working. So, first thing we do, check out a branch, link to albums, link to Spotify, try to make it a somewhat meaningful name of a branch. We have that one tool versions file sitting out there. Well, that's weird. It sees .env file is untracked. That's not right. So let's go back to master. So we did not pull changes from master, I can tell, because it should not get .env is in the get ignore file on the master branch. And the reason that we weren't able to pull that is because .tool versions has a new line in it. Node.js has a change. Add Node.js to local tools. That was so I could run yarn. All right, now we should be able to do get pull and get push. Great. All right, now everything's clean. No changes sitting out there. I need to really get a get prompt up and running on this new box. If I had had that, I would have noticed right away that I actually had a file that was out there with that shouldn't have been out there. All right. I think it's -d. All right, great. Now, so what I did is I just deleted that branch because it was pointing at an older version of master. So we'll now check it out again. Now, when we check it out, we are on that branch and we have no changes locally. Okay, much better place, much better place. All right, so now let's see, how do we actually make these things link up where we want them to go? So, we're probably going to be getting back some additional information from Spotify that we're going to need to store. So let's see, Spotify service is giving us a list of followed artists and followed albums. The album response. Oh man, this code is such a mess. That's okay, we'll get it. We will clean it up. All right, so I think maybe album releases index is going to have. So we're reaching directly into that response string that response hash and pulling different attributes off of it. So what we'll want to do is wrap, I think, this entire div in a link. So let's see, what would that be like if we... So one of the things I love doing is actually coming in here and being able to edit this stuff, edit HTML by hand. Let's see, let's edit this as HTML and then add a link tag around it. Apple.com, great website when you're adding links. /a to close that up. All right, now, oh man, it's gonna turn all of our text gray. So we'll have to fix that text, but I feel this feels pretty good. It makes the whole thing clickable. The other option would be to just make the album image itself clickable. I don't really have a strong feel on which one is better. Usually you want to make links discoverable. So right now, it's nice in that when I mouse over it, changes my pointer to a link to indicate that it's clickable. But probably in the future, when we overhaul the UI here, we probably want to make some sort of visual indication that this is the thing that you click on when you mouse over it. Yeah. Let's just wrap the album right now. This is not going to be like a final thing by any stretch. So here's our new ahref close that A tag. And where might we get the album link on Spotify? Somewhere in this album's hash, there is a URL. So how do I wonder if I have it in my test files, the response that we get back. I think I do, now that I think about it. So we have this thing, I have this thing set up called VCR, which records all the responses that I get back from Spotify, and then those are stuffed into a YAML file that I can then play back so that my files don't need to, so that my tests don't need to hit Spotify's API when they're running. They can be run offline while still connecting to an external API. Pretty cool setup there. That looks like it might be... Okay, this is for artists, so I wonder if I can close that. I don't want the artists, I want the albums. Artists... Oh wait, maybe I'm iterating over the artists' albums, and so that's the way this is working. So I need to like scroll down here until I find an albums thing. Search here then. Albums. Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. So albums has an item in it. Album type. Here's the external URL. No, that's the external URL for the artist. I don't care about that. Okay, it's under items, external URLs, this. So what happens if I go to that in the browser? Let's try that first. Or it might just be, no, that's the href for the API hit, which I don't want to do. So yeah, let's see if I go to that in the browser. Cool. Opens the album right away. Be nice if it opened it in the Spotify application. Can I get to it from, like, is there a button to like open in Spotify? Well, this will get me most of the way there for now, and then we can see about opening an external Mac app if you have it. It's going to be a little tricky because we want this to work on mobile and a lot of other places, so we'll just do it this way for now. Okay, so we decided that it was under, for each item, it's under external URLs, Spotify. So that should be pretty easy to pull in. External. Oh, right, I'm inside. Forget that this is like... I don't think there was multiple items in that array, but let's go look real quick. No, there's not. Okay, so that's not, that external URLs is not linking to an array, so we don't have to like get the first item or anything like that. All right, so let's save that and then refresh this locally. What? Did I stop Foreman? I did. Oh, that must have stopped itself when... Uh-oh. It looks like... I think this means the app's already running. Or something's already running. Which, I think this crashed when I switched to a branch that didn't have the proc file. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So I could do a... Yep, looks like that is running under 19.345. Kill -9 19.345. What? Oh, 19.435. Typo. There we go. Cool, that appears to have killed it. And all this other stuff looks fine. All right, so let's see if it runs now. No. Let's see what's going on there. Looks like the yarn. Oh, I bet switching back to the master branch without the yarn must have like killed the package's JSON file or something. Strange. How about form and start now? Okay, it's running. Cool. Honestly, like that. By the way, that's kind of, as an aside, I tend to just like gloss over stuff when it doesn't work, as opposed to digging in and trying to find out why it didn't work. That's probably one of my weaknesses as a developer, is that I probably spend too much time just glossing over little stuff like that. All right, so but that aside, it does allow me to get a lot done, which now we have a link to from any album over to Spotify, and it was like 2 lines of code. Super awesome. Okay, so go ahead and I kind of like it just being the image. It's the link for now. One thing we could do to make it a little nicer, just a little nicer, is let's add some CSS on hover here. So I don't even remember. It's been so long since I edited the CSS on this that I don't remember what I did in terms of CSS. Looks like I was just editing in straight application CSS. Okay, that'll work. So let's see, this will be under the release, the album cover image when it's wrapped in an A tag. So dot release A border. So we'll add some like fat border to this sucker when it's being hovered. Actually, hover. All right, and then we'll need to add some negative margin. So that it doesn't bounce. I think it's a negative margin. But let me see. Yep. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's eating the margin below and top. So we want to just do top and left, which is, if you guys remember the acronym, TRBL, trouble. So we'll do top margin and left margin, and that should keep the whole thing from bouncing a little bit. I think, yeah, because I think it's eating up that bottom margin, which is moving this up and... Huh. Why is it bumping down by a few pixels? I would have thought that margin all the way around would do it. Well, here's what you can do. Instead of eating negative margin, we will remove positive margin. So we'll add margin here. I love hacking CSS, by the way. It's kind of fun. So we'll add this margin, and then on this, we'll just zero it out. Oh, goodness. 0. It stinks that this page takes so long to refresh. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna just oh no. So I got some margin. Where's the hover? Show me. There it is, hover. Oh, did I break it? A:hover. No, that's working. Honestly, getting bogged down in a little of this is probably too much. Not that it doesn't really matter. I wonder if I took that off entirely. It annoys me that I can't edit the hover style in Chrome Inspector. Anybody know how that works? How to edit in... Oh, there we go. Nice. Woohoo! Looks good. Alright, not exactly sure why that worked, but glad it did. Maybe because there was already... That's why. There's already a border on it. So I was increasing the margin by 1. So this should have said 2. It works now. I'm not going to mess with it. And then this should really be moved down to here to not create confusion. Go ahead and refresh it, make sure it works locally, and then get ready to commit this. Sweet. All right, we got the feature working already. That is exciting. Yes. Looks awesome. So it lets you know you can click on it. Okay. Git status, git add dot, make albums link to Spotify. It's amazing how some things in when you're doing web development are so freaking easy, and then other things are so annoyingly difficult. Album links to Spotify. So we do not have a staging environment right now, which is troubling in order to test this out. So I'm gonna have to test this out in production, which is not my preferred thing. We probably should use the remainder of our time to set up staging after we get this rolled out. So where's my Trello card? This, grab that, create pull request, also GitHub, attach PR. Oh my. And get my auth code for that. Seven. Whoo! Attach PR. All right, and this is now in review. Let's go review files changed. Make sure I didn't do anything crazy accidentally. Nope. All that looks good. Testing on production. Doing it live. So the one concession here that's nice is that I can just do a manual deploy from the branch. So I'll come here, refresh, come down. Make, whoa. There we go. Album links to Spotify. Click deploy branch. So we'll do this manual deploy before we merge to master. So if there's any problem with this feature while we're testing it on master, we can immediately roll back to master, which is kind of nice, but is not as nice as having a true staging server. So you might want to look at doing that next. Man, also this thing is ugly as sin right now. I need to get some help from a designer to make this look better and function better. One other thing that I've been noticing too is I'm not entirely certain that this is the list of all albums. I think there are more releases happening that I'm somehow missing. So something I'm going to need to do is like go through and manually verify this list against what should actually be in there. So the code that is calculating that, this is just talking about it while we're waiting for that deploy to finish, is in the Spotify service. under Get Recent Albums. So this is some pretty gnarly code. I've touched it quite a bit, and we do have tests around it. And Ryan Holdaway has touched it. So it's not that it has not gone without eyeballs, but it is some of like the key code in the application, and it's not incredibly well factored. So we may want to figure out if this code is actually doing what we expect. Let me go over here to our, speaking of tests, I have not run our tests in a while, and there you go, some of our tests are not running. Okay, I think that is due to the domain not being set in the environment file. So domain, where's that coming from? Why does this, maybe that's development.rb domain, and then test.rb doesn't have one, maybe? Domain? That looks like the case. So let me copy over. Okay, let's go see if we're deployed or not yet. We are successfully deployed, so let's give this a test in production right now. Come on, connect your Spotify account, view my releases, going, and nice. You can now go click over to the application and play it right away. I am not going to play that application so that this doesn't get tagged. I guess you can play up to 30 seconds or something like that, but I don't want it to get tagged as like copyright infringement. All right, we got a few minutes left here. Let's see. What do we want to work on next? Actually, let's go finish this PR. Merge this in. It works. All right, so when I click merge, this will automatically get deployed to production. So that's a pretty nice little feature of the auto deploy of Heroku. That is all working. So now we can go merge or push this over to done. Check that out. We got production working and another feature working today, and we still have 18 minutes left. This is exciting. Let's see, do we want to try to set up staging? That should be pretty straightforward. What if we set up CI? That way we would find out when our tests are failing. That feels like a nice thing to do. All right, so there's kind of two ways we could do CI here. One is we could use GitHub Actions. The other is we could use Heroku. So let me look at the Heroku option really fast and look at the GitHub Actions and try to make a judgment call on which one we think would be the best. Build and test your Ruby repository. Pushes a Ruby gem to Ruby gems. Nope. Bundle exec rake. Does rake run RSpec right now? Sure does. Well, let's see about setting up this workflow, what it would do. I think this would just do it. Ruby workflow. I have no idea what this is going to do. CI with GitHub. All right, we'll try GitHub Actions CI. I have no idea how this does anything. I haven't read anything really about GitHub Actions, so I'm totally at a loss here. All right, we'll see if this works. Ruby build push queued, waiting to run this check. The check has started. Oh, look at this fanciness. Build and test with rake. So we do expect this to fail. Oh, but we don't expect it to fail at that stage. All right, we will take a quick 5-minute break. Your Ruby version is 265, but your gem file specified 261. So we may need to specify 261 in our file here. All right, 5-minute break. We'll be back in a minute, and we'll wrap up this pairing session, hopefully with getting CI working, and then making that a requirement to merge a branch. Be right back. Let me see what's going on in chat, if anything. What up, Alan? All right, 2.5 minutes. Finish the Pomodoro break, and then we'll dive back into GitHub Actions CI. Oh, goodness. All right, well, I only have until 1 o'clock today, which is 12 minutes, so we're going to cut this Pomodoro break short. We also had a little rocky start at the beginning, so I hadn't gotten as much time as I wanted today. So we'll give ourselves one more 12-minute thing and see if we can get CI running. So again, we are now checking out GitHub Actions CI. Let's see if we want to use it. All right, let's see if we can get it working here. So now, let's go ahead and bring up, looks like the file that we want to change. It's funny because this is now in a branch, right? So I can now check that branch out locally. Git pull GBA. Is there a branch? CI with GitHub. Nice. All right, so now I should have a file if I was following along with the GitHub Actions install appropriately. I should have a file called ruby.yaml. Yep, there it is. So it's saying I want Ruby version 265. We actually want 261. I don't know if that's going to be available on GitHub Actions. They may only support the most recent versions, so we may need to bump our Ruby version locally on this product in order to take advantage of Actions. But we'll try this out. Lock to Ruby 261 for GitHub Actions. All right, I don't know if this is gonna work, but we'll find out. So Ruby CI workflow, we'll jump in here. We should see another commit that comes up. Did it not come up? Did I not do a push? Push, push, push. CI with GitHub, let me refresh. Oh, you're just slow, GitHub. Details. Failing after 3 seconds. 261 not found. Called it. All right, so we need to go to 265. Fun. So on a normal production application, this would not be a trivial upgrade, and we would be kind of freaking out right now. This should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. The one thing that I don't know is how this impacts our Heroku instance. So it may be that our Heroku build pack doesn't support 265, or it may be that it expects 265 and that I like configured it for 261 or something like that. Again, we're running without staging, which just is, oh, doesn't feel good. So I don't, but no one's using the product. We just got production up and running today. So maybe I should just get over myself and just roll with this Ruby upgrade in the next 9 minutes. All right, doing it hardcore. Here we go. So a couple changes we're gonna need to make. We have a tool versions file because we use this fancy thing called ASDF, which lets you manage different versions of Ruby. So I'm gonna need to change that tool versions file and then rebundle all of my fanciness. So 265. So now ASDF, I think I can do like a plugin Ruby list. That's just a total guess and then is wrong. Ruby list. Oh goodness. Plugin. Wait, I don't want to list the Ruby plugins. That's not what I want to do. I want to list. How does this work exactly? ASDF list. There we go. All right, so ASDF install should now go get Ruby 265. Oh boy, a new version of OpenSSL. My favorite thing to hate. So Ruby and OpenSSL are like mortal enemies, and like when you try to get them running on your version of Mac OS, they compete with the local installed version of Mac's OpenSSL, and this is like a death trap. So we're basically rolling like a 1d6, and if we roll like a 1 or a 2 on our 1d6, we get to fall into an OpenSSL death trap, and for the next like several hours, I spend like trying to undo this stupid install command. If we roll like a 3, 4, 5, or 6, I think we're going to be okay, and OpenSSL will install cleanly, and we'll be in happy Panda land, and we'll actually be on OpenSSL, or we'll actually be on Ruby 265, and everything will be happy. OpenSSL, so many bad memories. So many bad memories. Let's go ahead and look ahead about some of the other changes we're going to have to make in order to move this project from Ruby 265 to, or 261 to 265, and that's probably the right thing to do. And since you want to be on the latest like patch version of any Ruby version, so since we were on 261 before, probably 265 has like some security upgrades and stuff. So one of the things we'll want to do is go check out our gem file and see what's specified there. Looks like 261 is specified there, so we'll go ahead and move that forward to 265. That is probably going to be it. That OpenSSL install is taking a long time. It's making me nervous. Very, very nervous. Don't like that. All right, cool. Yeah, I think we should be, I think that's pretty much it. Is our gem file. We'll want to know which version to install gems against. Oh, we have a Ruby version file too. I think that's what yield Heroku tries to use. So while this is running, because this is about getting our local environment up and running with a new version of Ruby and testing things out locally, we can go ahead and already check in these few changes that we've made to move to 265. And we can go ahead and push this up to Heroku and see if Heroku just magically changes over to the right build pack, or what needs to happen exactly. So let me add all those and say trying to upgrade to Ruby 2, 6, 5. Go ahead and hit that push. And now we'll want to do a push to Heroku. So git push Heroku. And if you guys remember the syntax from earlier today, I do CI with GitHub, push to the master branch on Heroku, so we can do it from the desktop and not have to flip over to the Heroku UI for that. All right, here's the all-important part. Does it pick up 265 smoothly? It looks like it's going to go with Node first. Yarn is running. Node modules are cached. Yarn is installed. Looks like we're still in Yarn land. Haven't gotten to Ruby land yet. Dude, that OpenSSL install is still running locally. And my machine is like melting over here. Bunch of warnings from our Yarn install. That only makes me slightly uncomfortable compared to OpenSSL. Build succeeded on that end. Okay. No! Detected a mismatch. Oh, right. Because, so this is not going to work. That's funky. All right, I'm going to do a bundle update -- Ruby. If we had run bundle install, everything would have been happy panda. Oh, good. OpenSSL is done. We've either fallen into a death trap or everything's fine. And we'll find out in just a second. So normally if I'd run bundle install, it would have updated the bundle lock, the gem file lock file. I did not know that Heroku would be looking at my local gem file lock file. I thought they would kind of handle their own thing. But that kind of makes sense. So we're kind of in a holding pattern here with Heroku until I can get Ruby 265 installed and running locally via ASDF. So hopefully this just magically will work and be done in the next few seconds. So one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're doing this kind of stuff is it's very easy to fall into a rabbit hole and find yourself like multiple steps down a long path and wondering how the heck you got here. So remember, what we were trying to do is get CI running on GitHub Actions. We don't even know if we want to use GitHub Actions. I've never used GitHub Actions before. I don't know if it's a good CI solution, a bad CI solution. And we also have an alternative CI solution with Heroku. And most likely, the Heroku CI solution already supports Ruby 261 since they're running Ruby 261 locally anyway. So we may want to just like abort this in any second now and go with Heroku's CI. I really don't have a dog in this fight. So as Alan mentioned, we both worked on a product many years ago called Run Code Run that was a CI solution before CI solutions were really common. Basically all that existed at the time was Jenkins. And this was like old school Jenkins before the redesign, like really ugly, hideous heavy Java application. But yeah, CI solutions have come a long way. The fact that like Heroku and GitHub and just about everybody has one bolted onto their existing product is indicative of how easy it is these days to stand one up. All right, let's see where we're at in terms of the install. Okay, according to this, ASDF has completed the install, so I should be able to run a bundle install. Now locally, grab all of my gems all over again. I did have a problem getting Postgres installed earlier because I'm using the Postgres.app solution, so we may have to do jump through that same hoop, but fortunately I jumped through it like 2.5 hours ago, so I still remember the approximate size and location of the hoop. All right. Yes. We'll be right with you, Heroku. I'm actually curious about how you would set up the Heroku CI. So I bet it's something to do with these pipelines. If I create a new pipeline, a stage? What in the world? Can you run staging underneath a single application in Heroku now? What? That's wild. I don't know what I'm creating here. Just clicking around, creating stuff. Staging apps can be used to preview. Oh my goodness, all this time I thought you had to like create a separate one. Can I just add an app here? Oh, it has to be one of my other apps. So I still do have to create an actual staging app. All right, well, I'll do that later. It's pretty cool. What's a review app? For open pull requests, wait for CI to pass. Tests. Connect to GitHub. All right, looks like this is done over here, which means we should have a new gem file lock file, which we do. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that. Ruby 265 land. All right, guys, we are just about wrapping up here. We're at 1 o'clock, which is the time at which we usually wrap up these pairing sessions. So give me just a second and see if we can push this to GitHub and see. All right, we were going to test 265 on GitHub and Heroku. So there's the test on Heroku. Let's go to our Ruby CI workflow. Looks like it fails. Why? Oh, no. We've got a pending run here. No, that's the deployment. All right. So why you hate me? Oh, because I need to change the Ruby YAML file back. Okay, that's easy. Easy enough. So Ruby YAML, this now goes back to 2.6 star as it was before. Back to most recent Ruby version. Undo. Okay. Whoa, looks like Heroku's running. And it's rebuilding all the, rebundling everything. So I think that's a sign that it moved up to the new version on 2.6.5. We now pushed a new version, or we pushed a new build up to GitHub Actions. It's running. Yep. We are installing. Oh man. I think we might be in having CI running land. Well, CI failing. Okay, let me make a note here. Had to upgrade to Ruby 2.6.5 in order to use GitHub Actions. Jury still out. Okay, and finally, let's see if we are running in Heroku or not. Protecting Rails config. Looks like Heroku smoothly moved over to 2.6.5, which is good. Not altogether surprising. Released. Here we go. Version 23 of production. Hitting the app now. Oops. So restarting those dynos. When you upgrade to a paid instance, a lot of that stuff will go away. View my releases. Okay, Heroku is successfully running on 2.6.5. We've still got gem installs happening on... Uh-oh. We have a failure with PG. Interesting. So I don't know how we would have to... All right, so that's enough for today, digging into this. We did successfully update 2.6.5, which was probably a good thing to do anyway. We also have some pull requests sitting out here for a couple of gem upgrades that we'll probably want to go ahead and make the next time we pair, which will be probably next Thursday. Let me go ahead and attach the pull request so we can kind of know where we're at. I'm also going to mark this as a work in progress PR. I think you can do that after the fact, right? Edit. Maybe not. Maybe it's already... Maybe that ship has sailed. I don't know. Huh. I've always opened... When I open draft PRs, I've opened them to start as drafts, but apparently you can't go back to a draft from a final one. All right. That's fine. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Work in progress. All right, so that's where we're at for today. Just as a recap, what we got done today, we got the production branch up and running on Heroku. We completed the move to .env locally. We also merged in Jonfer's PR to fix some of our Webpack configuration. We're not utilizing that Webpack configuration yet, but when we start to write out our React front end to this, if we end up doing that, we may need that Webpack configuration. So thanks to Jonfer for that PR fix. So we're in the middle right now of setting up CI. Go ahead and slap my face on that. And another one that we had talked about several times doing next would be setting up staging. So we should probably get that up and running. I'd also like to buy a domain, so I might go ahead and get that going in the next couple of days. May or may not live stream that, but when we come back next time, hopefully we'll be a little bit further along. Also, yeah, anyway, I'll continue to keep y'all updated via Twitter and YouTube when I'm going to be live streaming again. So thanks for joining today for Pairing with Jess. It's been a blast.